Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Remove Logic, everybody. I'm your host, Karen Ray Lacey, and we are back podcasting for the year 2025. I have not seen you since the year has been in. I've been submitting shows that, from different shows that I did last year, and some of them were this year. But just want to say Happy New Year to the Remove Logic audience. I'm so glad that you are still showing up. On behalf of the show, I'm looking forward to this year for what we have to offer you as far as inspiration, innovation. Again, Remove Logic is the place where stuck people come to get help with getting unstuck. And we do that how? By interviews with people's sharing their stories, positive testimonies of things and obstacles that people have had to overcome by removing the logic that is sometimes stuck in our head that says that we can't do something. And once you get the logic of it out of the way, the illogical things become possible. And so I'm so glad to be here again, present and accounted for 2025. Thank you, God, that I made it through to this year. And my goodness, has 2025 come in? Look, on fire, standing in our face with a boldness, pushing back on so many things. This year, 2025 has just come in crazy. So you made it, dust yourself off and just say, Lord, I thank you that I made it to 2025. And let's run on and see what the end is going to be. Once again, this is Remove Logic Radio Show. I'm your host, Karen Ray Lacey, and we are here for those that they're stuck, maybe in a rut, maybe in your thoughts, maybe just making a decision. Sometimes it's just that, but that's what we are here for those of you that are stuck and you want to get unstuck. We use faith-based principles, positive ideologies, and just things that would commonly move you forward rather than hold you in a stagnated position. And so once again, I'm so glad to be here. Happy New Year 2025. For those of you that have been watching some of our pre-recorded shows, I'm glad that you're still hanging out with us, and just looking forward to what 2025 has to offer, even though it's been an ugly start for some of us, and looking for some things to turn around for some of us as well. And I'm here with you. You are not alone. I'm saying to you, solidarity, my sister, solidarity, my brother. We are in this fight together. And so, yes, welcome again to Remove Logic. Today, I want to talk to you about pivot, which is the word that I've been hearing for the last week or so, even for myself, that it's time to pivot. And a lot of times, when change comes, it has a way of knocking us down sometimes, or knocking the wind out of us, where, hey, I don't even know if I can breathe through this thing. But again, pivot is the word, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Is pivoting. I am myself in a place where a pivot is required in my life, and we'll talk about that. Not today, not gonna make it about me, but it's about you, and I'll be able to share my story in a few weeks of where I had to pivot. And when I tell you I'm excited about this pivot that I'm in, because the word not only is pivot, but as I began to pray even last year, I felt this transition that I was in, and I didn't understand it. But I just said a little simple prayer. I say, God, I thank you for my transition. I feel like I'm in a transition, but I thank you for the transition. And I said, I'm asking you that when the door opens, that you just give me the courage to walk through it. And so that was October last year. Just whispered that prayer, just one morning, or laying in my bed, and just came across my mind that I was in a pivot, and in a transition. I'm sorry. And so, and just whispered that prayer, and I just asked God to give me courage for when this door opened, that I would have the courage to walk through it. And so I am standing flat-footed now, in a moment where I've got to pivot. And so I know with all the transition that's going on in the nation since November, that there are many of us that are in a transition, and we are in a moment where we've got to pivot. And and sometimes if you don't make a move, you run the risk of being swallowed up by no movement at all. And so I just want to encourage you in this season of transition, that now is the time to pivot. And as you are making the decision to move, one of the things that I heard just last week, in my spirit, as God was just speaking, and I did hear the word pivot, is stability in movement. And that though you'll have to move, or you're moving in something, and then there's a requirement of you to move, that you're going to be stable in your movement. And I don't know about you, but I was excited about that. I was excited that, God is saying to me that, yeah, you're going to have to pivot, but I'm going to give you stability even in your movement. And so it just did something for me to know that, hey, even though I'm going to have to make a move, and I'm saying to you, yes, there will have to be a move made, but you're going to be stable. You will have stability in movement. And that just blessed my heart, and it gave me even more the ability to, go ahead and, as I asked in October, walk through the door, have the courage to walk through the door. And one of the things God gave me for pivot, as an acronym, is persevere in victory over transition. To persevere in victory over transition. And so even though you're in a transitional place, a transitional state, that's a change. And to have a transition and not know which direction to go is even fearful. I equate it to being in your home, and all the lights are off in your house, and someone has moved the furniture. Before you can even get to turn a light on, you've got to now navigate in a safe place how to get out, how to get to light, even though, yes, this is my home, this is secure, maybe this is your job, or even just whatever. It could be a relationship, but I'm in a place of transition. And so when you're in a transition, and look, the lights are out, the lights have all of a sudden been turned off, and now I've got to navigate how to get out of this place that I'm in, that I'm currently in. Look, what is my next move? What is it that I could be doing, should be doing, or what change should I make on my way to this next move as I prepare for it? But the word for today is pivot. And pivot is, for this year, we're going to give it the acronym persevere in victory over transition, because we may have to make several different pivots this year, but you need to firstly understand, how do I persevere? What type of discipline do I need to have to make this movement? And one of the things that I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about in basketball how what a pivot means. And when I was sharing with her that I had heard stability in movement. And so when you're in basketball, the word pivot in basketball, players in possession of the ball. And we're just going to call this ball that you're in possession of, it could be your light, your life, it could be your career, it could be, relationship, or just where you are, where you're necessarily having to make this pivot. But you are the player, you have possession of the ball, and have a limited range of moves that you can perform without being penalized. And I just want that to set in for a moment. And so even as I'm saying to you that I'm in a place of pivot, and I said I'm going to share because there is a testimony behind this pivot that I'm making now. But there is it seems when you're in transition, you have a limited range. Your range of movement is limited. And so if I move in the wrong direction or move unsteadily, so to speak, regarding basketball, if you make the wrong move, you can be penalized. And so when in basketball, for example, they may only have they may only run while dribbling the ball, and they cannot begin dribbling the ball again after they finish. Like you run, and then okay, I stop. But when I stop, I got to make a pivot. But I need to remember that I'm in a pivot position. And so even to persevere in this position, you have to first acknowledge this is a pivotal moment in my life. This is a pivotal moment in my life, and I need to make a move. But I need to first realize I only have so much range of motion of what direction I can go. And you have to identify that. And so again, in basketball, pivoting is a specific basketball maneuver in which the player stands still while taking a step with one foot. Now, I don't know about you, but what I heard the other day, you will have stability in movement. But then in basketball, you got to stand still while stepping with one foot. And the pivot is the foot that remains fixed or in a fixed position on the floor. The Bible says the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. We say, oh, God, order my steps. Order my steps. And so when I think about this pivotal moment in my life, I need to know, I first need to, yes, persevere. When I asked for the courage to walk through the door back in October, not knowing when the door was coming and I was going to have the courage to go through it. Not just put your hand on the door. You have to move the door open and then pivot on through this door. And so keeping one foot solidly on God's word, keeping one foot solidly on what your vision or the direction or whatever it is that you are striving to do, that even though a transition has come, you don't give up on your expectation of what it is that you desire. And so while we are in this place where, yes, there is a pivot required, and I've got to make good decisions because I only have a limited range of movement in this season, this pivotal season of my life. And so while you have determined that, yes, this is my pivotal foot, and I'm going to be solid right here, but I'm going to move to the left, move to the right, whatever direction that you have to move to, but you're going to keep that foot solid. God said you're going to have stability in movement. And so while you have identified the foot that has to remain fixed in a fixed position, then you can begin to determine what direction you're going to move with this ball. Again, you're the player with the ball. The ball may be your career. It may be just your life in totality, or it may be a love relationship. Whatever you're seeking out to do, it could be a change of careers. It could be a new business opportunity, or even the business that you're currently in that now I want to grow it in another direction. So you have said to yourself, I need to pivot. I need to pivot. So while the pivot foot remains locked in place, the player can pivot backwards, he can pivot forward, but you have to maintain control of the ball, and you're either going to shoot it or pass it to your teammates. Let me say that again. While the pivot foot remains locked in place, the player with the ball can pivot forward, backward to control the ball, or shoot and shoot. You don't want to control it. I'm going to take the shot, or I'm going to pass it to my teammates. The player can even perform, look, 180-degree spin. In other words, I can turn around and go in another direction. I can turn around and go backwards. If it was something that I didn't finish that I need to handle, let me turn around. I can do a 180-degree spin, and then what? Change, or you can change your position as you see fit. In other words, just as God said, you're going to have stability in movement. You're going to keep that foot solidly planted on the word. I'm going to keep it solidly planted on my goal. I'm going to keep it solidly planted on my focus. But guess what? Even if I have to turn and go 180-degree turn and go back, let me turn around. And when I turn around, I can change my position. I don't know about you, but that's exciting to me. That even as I'm 60 years old and I've got to pivot, but I can change my position. The skills that I have attained over the years, I can utilize them in another way, but I'm in a pivotal moment, and you may be in a pivotal moment. We're in a time where there are a lot of government employees that have been laid off, jobs just gone at the stroke of a pen or a word. And now you got to decide what to do. But I'm saying to you, it's going to be all right. You can change position because you still have control of the ball, and you keep your foot planted, is solidly planted on what it is that you want to achieve. Because when God opens a door, no man can shut it. And when he closes a door, no man can open it. And I heard something the other day that blessed me, that when God, when he opens a door, it may not just be for your exit, but it's also to let the devil know that he couldn't hold you in. Now, I don't know about you, but even in basketball, you have to box them in. Sometimes you got to box them in to hold that person in position. But when they got the ball and they trying to see their way through the goal to make that one shot, that three-pointer that is going to advance me forward, I'm going to score on this one. So I'm saying to you, you will score. You're going to make a good shot. Either that or you're going to pass it off to the right person. That even your vision and your dreams, whatever it is, you might meet the right person with the right door to open that door for you and say, come on in here and sit down. I heard about you. And I've been waiting on you to show up with the skills and the talents that you have. And so don't look at the fact that, yes, change has come, that I'm in a transitional moment, that even though I'm in a transitional moment, I'm going to persevere in victory over this transition. It's time to pivot. And so back to our basketball player. This player with the ball that has his foot solidly planted, he's identified which foot is the pivot foot. That means that's the one that's locked in place. That's the one that I'm not going to move up off of, even though I have the ball in my hand. I'm going to determine what direction, forward, backward, 180-degree turn, or am I going to shoot the ball or pass it to my teammate? This player may decide which foot is the pivot foot, before dribbling. So you have to know that. So even as we're in this place of pivot, I have to know, where is my stable foot? Where is my footing? You don't just run out and do, but you have to have stability. And you know that by that foot that's solidly planted. God said you will have stability in movement. And how do you identify this pivotal foot? If the player catches the ball with one foot on the court, then that foot is the pivot foot. If the player catches the ball and 2 feet are on the court, then they can choose which foot becomes the pivotal foot, the one that you're stronger in. Where do I need to solidly place myself? Where my strength comes from. And your strength comes from God. I'm going to solidly place myself in his direction. I'm going to solidly place my foot. The scripture says that he will send angels charge over you. He's got angels that he has sent to charge over you, given angels charge over you. That you will not dash your foot against a stone. And so even though we're in a place of pivoting, we've now got to truly understand what's keeping us. Where am I solidly planting my foot? And so even as you identify which foot is this pivotal foot, you cannot switch to the other foot while you make that initial decision. I need to say that again. You cannot switch to the other foot after you have made that initial decision. You got to stick to what decision that you make in this pivotal moment. I believe that's going to help somebody right there. As I sit right there, as I said, I made a decision. And I said, Karen, once you send this email, there's no turning back. The decision was made when the email was released, but I had to wait in the process before I could pivot. And so decide and make that initial decision, and you can't turn back. So decide which foot. Lord, what is my stable place that I can make this pivot with? Because you got to be solid in something. You just can't be out here flying out like a flying roach. And I say what I say, a flying roach. You're just flying out all willy-nilly with nothing, and you're not lighting on anything but what you land on. This is not where we are in this moment, because 2025 is not going to bear you that type of vibe. It's not. It's not. It has come in looking at you saying, now what you going to do? 2025 has come in looking at us square in our face like David did with Goliath and just saying, okay, now what? I'm standing here. I'm 10 feet tall. And what are you going to do? I'm blocking you from everything that you want to go. You won't meet your goals until you come through me. 2025 is not playing. But we are in a pivotal moment where we've got to say to ourselves that I'm going to make it. I'm a winner and I'm going to make it. And even if I shoot my shot, it's going to be my best shot, but I'm going to step forward off this solid foot that I'm standing on. We are not making arbitrary decisions. We're making critical decisions in 2025. And so when you have to make a critical decision, you are so solidly fixed on that decision that no matter what, nevertheless, I don't care what y'all say, I'm going through the door. That I'm in transition, but I'm going through this door. And I don't care what it takes. If I got to stick and move, if I got to do a spin or a different type of maneuver, I'm getting to that door and I'm going through the door. And so while we consider this pivotal moment, again, the ball is in your court. The ball is in your hand. If the ball is caught in the air, the player's foot that first comes in contact with the ground is the pivot foot. And the player may choose either foot if they land on both feet. You still got a decision to make. You still got options. You still got options. And so even at the fact that you have options, choose one or the other, but be solid in your initial response. Be solid in your decision because you're in a pivotal moment. And so even as we know we're in a pivotal place, I've landed solidly on both feet. Thank God for that. But now I need to determine which direction am I pivoting to. Am I going to pivot forward? Am I going to pivot backward? Am I going to do a whole 180-degree turn and then change my position? Or am I going to shoot my shot or pass it to a teammate? But whatever you do, you have a decision to make. And pivoting can be useful in a wide range of scenarios in basketball, from setting you up to score for your scoring opportunity to evading a defensive guard, facing the enemy. When we look at real life situations, that this pivotal moment can set you up for a scoring opportunity, or this pivotal moment can set you up to evade your opposition, a defense mechanism. It also, these maneuvers can put you in an advantageous position where you have the advantage. And so whatever decision that you make in this pivotal moment, you want to look at what this pivotal moment can do for you. It can set you up for a scoring opportunity. It can put you in a position where you are evading a defensive guard, an enemy, an opposition, whatever it is. Or this maneuver can also put you in a more advantageous position. And so you have to decide, how do I want this outcome of this pivotal moment to look for me? And I don't know about you, I want to be able to set myself up for a scoring opportunity, but I want to be able to evade some of my enemies. I want to be able to block some of the things that might come my way as I'm making this pivotal decision. And then I also want to set myself up for a more advantageous position. And I say this all the time. I'm 60 years old. Your bounce back ain't the same at 60 as it was when you was 30. Your bounce back is not the same. So you have to make some real critical decisions. And so whatever you are and wherever you are, you might not be 60, you might be 35, you might be 40, but you know where your bounce back was prior to your point where you're standing right now. And if the bounce back, you may have where now I'm 35 and I have a home. I'm 35 and I have children. And so there may be some things that you need to consider that you may not have had to consider before. And so while you are making this decision, this critical decision, where I have identified, I need to make a pivot. But I need to determine which foot am I pivoting from? What is my pivotal foot? Because that's the one that's solidly planted on the ground. That's the one that I'm not going to move, but I know that I can turn in whatever direction. But I know whatever direction I turn to, I want it to set me up to score. I want it to block for me anything that might be coming my way. And then I also need to make a maneuver that's going to put me in an advantageous position. So while you are making that pivotal decision, then again, we talked about the perseverance in victory over transition, because transition in itself is opposition. That means I got to overcome something to get through this transitional period in my life. And a lot of times it's ourselves. It might be the fear to move. And that again is why we are here at Remove Logic, because sometimes it is the fear of logical things that make us not do the illogical things that will put us in an advantageous moment, an advantageous position. And so sometimes logic itself will cause us to be still in fear. It will arrest our development from growing. Sometimes it might be taking a course to learn something new. But we may say to ourselves, oh, I'm too old to learn anything else. Oh, I don't have time to invest in a course right now because time won't allow me to study. But for whatever it is, I say to you in this pivotal moment that we find ourselves in as a nation, as a state, as a community, as a family, as an individual, that it is crucial that you determine what this pivotal moment means for you. What do I want to get out of this pivotal moment? And then what do I need to do to overcome this transition? The benefits of mastering a pivot is it improves your control over your situation. So while that basketball player has that basketball and all eyes on me, I'm the one with the ball, and I know I can pivot to the left, to the right, backwards. So I could pivot forward. I could pivot backwards. I can do a 180-degree turn, but all eyes on me. And everybody might be counting on you that was counting on you prior to this moment of transition, and you're considering them. But I say to you, in your pivot, you got to consider yourself. You got to consider your stability, because if you're no good for you, you're no good for nobody else. So master this pivot. Sit down and determine what disciplines it's going to take for me in this pivot. Am I going to study differently? What new books am I going to read to help to aid me in this pivot? What skills am I going to tap into that I may have forgotten about, that I need to maybe sharpen some skills in this pivot? Because it is time in this season, we've got to gain control of our own lives. Take ownership of yourself. If you've given your power away to anybody when you are in transition, now is the time to take your power back. That's how you solidly plant your foot on the ground. And you say to yourself, you know what? I'm taking back my power. I'm taking back my control, because it's time for me to make a move. Pivot. When it's time to make a move, it's going to give you the better control as the player with the ball. And you always want to have the best control when the ball is in your hand. It gives you control over your movements without being penalized in your movements. It's a crucial element and many in advancement techniques in basketball. Pivoting is, but it's also a crucial element in life to know when it's time to pivot. And then also to not have the fear in pivoting, because you got to make some kind of move. A move has to be made. When the ball is in your hand and it's time to change, or you want to look, it's time to score, time to change direction. Maybe the ball was going one way, and all of a sudden with a rebound, it got in your hands. And then your goal is on the other end. So now I need to pivot. I need to change direction so that I can get to my goal and I can score. And so even as, we're talking about transition, we're talking about persevering in victory over transition, that something has to kick in your mind that I got to make this, that I'm going to win, I'm going to score, and it's my game. I'm going to win this game. And so when we are in a place of transition, the ultimate goal is to put yourself in a better position, to put yourself in a better position. And in a fast-paced and high-pressure game situation, players become stressed, panic, and then they worry about making the wrong decision. And let's be real. when it's time for pivot and stuff comes at you, life starts lifing and coming at you. And even as we look again, things that are out of our control. I was watching TikTok the other day, and I saw people making TikToks that work for the government, that all of a sudden your job is gone. And so what do you do when it's time to pivot and everything was out of your control? But I say to you, when that ball rebounded and it's now back in your hands, your life is back in your hands. Your decisions are back in your hands. When that stability, what appeared to be stable, is no longer stable, you've got to determine what foot am I going to come from? Where am I going? Where am I standing right now? What's my solid position? And what can I do now that I need to pivot? And some of them were showing themselves, closing up their computers and gathering up their equipment to turn it in because that position was gone. But now it's time to reposition yourself. It's time to pivot. And I say to you, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. And when it comes fast paced, like it has come for some, it's fast paced. January 20th was there. And then after January 20th, no job. People just coming in and taking jobs, fast paced. And so stress now becomes your attention robber. Panic now becomes your attention grabber. And then, even in my stress and my panic, I got to make a decision. The ball is back in my hand and I need to make a decision. So when it's fast paced, high pressure, as we know what we're seeing now, and I'm speaking to those that are, you're in a position where things have turned so quickly. You didn't see this coming, but guess what? The ball is in your hand and it's time to pivot. And what do I do? What decision do I make? You have to first identify what foot is my pivotal foot, because God has already said to you and to me, you will have stability in movement. And so as I make this decision, I've got to determine, what am I stepping from? And then where am I stepping to when I make this pivot? Don't allow stress to stop you and make you feel like I may make the wrong decision, because no decision is a decision. And indecision can hinder us just as much as a wrong decision. So get up. If you down, maybe depression has come on you because this has come so quickly, I'm encouraging you to get up and make a decision for yourself. The ball is in your court and it's time to pivot. You got to identify, what foot am I stepping from? And then, am I going to step forward? Am I going to step backward? Or am I going to make a 180-degree turn? And then once I make that decision, then what am I going to do? Am I going to shoot? Am I going to pass the ball to a teammate? Because it may not be for you to carry the load in this season. This might be a season where you rest a little bit, come back fighting. But for whatever it is, just as I said, God, I feel a transition coming. But all I'm asking you to do is, when the door opens, give me the courage to walk through the door. And so I want to encourage you to walk through the door. Don't lie down when it's time to transition. We don't have that luxury. We have to transition. But you will have victory over the transition if you persevere in victory, which is pivot. It's time to pivot. Also, a pivot establishes the foundation for a more advanced techniques. Because what did I say? You may have to take some courses. You may have to enroll in something that is going to enhance the skills that you already have. When it's time to pivot, you got to look at what can I do? What skills do I have? And what is it that I can change, enhance, grow, learn, take on something new? You know, every day is a learning opportunity, but you have to give that to yourself. And so while you are in this pivotal moment, establish a foundation for more advanced techniques. Look at the skill sets that you do have and use those skill sets to move you forward. Pivoting itself can be complicated. It's a complicated maneuver in basketball. It's a complicated maneuver in life. It's complicated for the inexperienced. Maybe you have never, ever had to pivot before in life, but now all of a sudden I got to make a pivot. It might be something that, you know, I feel like I've never had to ever do this. And all of a sudden, now I got to make a pivotal move in my life. I thought I was going to be here for the rest of my life and work out my days. And all of a sudden, I got to make a move. Making a pivotal movement is a hard movement, but it's crucial. And it can be fearful for an inexperienced player. And it can take a long time to master. But if you don't have but a short time to master something, then I know the master is God, and he can move you so fast forward. He can propel you, expeditiously. You can learn something so quickly. You ask for creativity, Lord. Give me a creative mind. Let me create something. And so when you are in a pivotal moment, you start to call on things that you didn't even know as an inexperienced person. You might be used to pivoting, but God said, look, I got something all new for you to do. Just take the chance, take the shot for yourself. Believe enough in you that I can do this. And if it also, it lays the groundwork for more advanced opportunities, more complex skills, things that I never would have thought I'd know how to do. And I'm doing it. Things that were complex now come to me easy because divine strategies, divine solutions come to you in pivotal moments. Sometimes you just need to make the move. And what is it? You do your best and God will do the rest. You do your best and God will do the rest. And so sometimes it may be, look, in my natural skills, I can do this. But when God put his super on your natural, you will exceed even your thought process. So I want to encourage you in 2025. Look, make some spin moves while you're dribbling that ball and trying to decide what you're going to do, but keep your foot solid on the ground. You might have to make some fake and defensive moves. You may need to keep it all to yourself. Tell the right people. Don't tell the wrong people while you're in this pivotal transitional space. But tell the right people so you can make some defensive moves. And then you need to be open to receiving the ball, because somebody might be in a pivotal place that's going to pass you the ball. So while you're in this pivotal time, you need to identify that pivotal place. Yes, this is a pivotal moment. I've identified it and I got to make some moves. And then you need to persevere. Once you get to the place of perseverance, that means I got some discipline. I'm going to identify my skill sets. I'm going to look and see what opportunities are on the court for me so that I can make a shot. What teammates are there? God might send in some new players on your team that somebody may be looking for the skills that you have. And so don't look at the fact that, yes, I'm in a pivotal moment. But that pivotal moment does not mean that I'm limited. It means that I can look around and I can see what the advantages are in this moment. I can look around and see what kind of maneuvers I can make that's going to set me up to make that Look, 3-point shot. The pivotal moment is the moment where God is saying to you, you will have stability in your movement. Just move. Don't allow an indecision to become your decision. You're going to have to make a decision, and you're going to have to determine for yourself, I'm worth it, and I'm taking a shot on me this time. I'm worth this shot. I'm going to shoot my shot this time, but I'm going to do it for me. It may be just that crucial that you got to believe in yourself in this moment. And so I just want to encourage you as you are in a transitional time, a pivotal moment, you will persevere in victory over transition in the pivot. That's what pivot means. If you have to take this little phrase, and you take this little phrase right here and you put it in your thoughts, in your mind, you write it down. Persevere in victory over transition. You might find yourself in a place where I don't know what to do, but I know I need to pivot. This is new to me, but I know I need to make a move. I've never done this before in experience. I never had an issue to rise up in my life like this, but I got to make a move. And so what I'm saying to you today, this Thursday, Remove Logic Radio Show, persevere in victory over transition. Do not allow yourself to not make any decision, because you need to make a decision. But you need to make a critical decision first to pivot. And once you pivot, then you look at what's going to set you up that you're going to be advantageous in my new position. It's going to set me up for better. That even if I have to turn around 180 and go back and do something that I did before, I'm still planting my foot solidly on the ground to make a move. If I have to go forward, when you do move forward, the ball is still in your hand. And I need to now decide, am I going to ask for help and pass this ball over to somebody else in my transition? Or am I going to take a shot and believe enough in myself that I know I'm going to make this basket and I'm going to score? And so be encouraged in this season. Yes, we're all in pivotal moments in our lives, but I say to you, you are a winner and you will win. Take the shot. Believe in yourself. Keep that foot solidly planted on the ground. Identify that pivotal foot. Am I going to step from the left or step from the right foot? But whatever you do, make a decision. And God is going to bless your decision. I believe that. So as I close out for Remove Logic this Thursday, first of all, again, I'm glad that you show up. I'm glad that you're still hanging with me. We got some good things on the horizon for 2025. People that we are already in talks with to interview, just to encourage you with their story. And even if you want to share, get in touch with me. You can reach me at Remove Logic on Facebook. Message me and let me know that you are interested in telling or sharing your story, or if you know somebody else that has a story. Also, I'm going to do have a segment with the Detox Doctor. And so we're going to start to do that and talk about ways. And I'm not just talking about your health detox. It might be some things in your life you need to detox from. And so we're going to make that a part of Remove Logic, where we're going to invite the Detox Doctor on to share some things with you guys. So really encouraged about 2025, though it came in hot, standing in our face with boldness, blocking some things, deleting some things. So yeah, 2025, we ain't scared. We ain't never scared. So So I just want you to make sure that you show up, tune in every Thursday night at 7:00. We'll be here, Remove Logic Radio Show, and just excited about 2025. I don't know about you, but I got a life to live, and I'm living it out loud. So I'm your host, Karen Ray Lacey. I'm so glad that you came out tonight to hang with me on Remove Logic Radio. And we will see you next week, same place, Thursday night, same time, 7:00. See you guys. Have a wonderful weekend.